Sometimes there's no worse feeling in the world than making mistakes. It's even worse when your pets are involved. On top of that, and to make the situation even worse, when money's involved in those mistakes, it can be a truly heartbreaking thing. Today we're going to be taking a look at 5 fish that I regret wasting my money on in this aquarium hobby. Number 5 was the Bangai Cardinal for me. Specifically, 2 times I bought this fish and twice they died on me. And as anybody knows that keeps marine fish, they're not the cheapest animals to purchase initially, especially when you have 2 that end up dying on you. Each time the idea was to have a breeding partner for my existing Bangai Cardinal, which was the first marine fish that I ever owned. And the idea is that I wanted to breed them in my fish tanks and then hopefully sell them on. But it turns out that they're not as easy to keep together as that you might think. For some reason or another, they just never settled nicely with my Bangai Cardinal. It was never aggressive. I mean, I noticed a little bit territorial, but that was it. But it seems like after a couple of weeks, there was a problem and it ended up dying. So I had that happen twice, and it takes ages to sex these females as well, so it was a right pain when it happened, and also it cost me a lot of money in the meantime. Number 4 was my tiger shrimp. Now, a while back I decided to take the plunge into online orders. Specifically, this one was from eBay, and I really loved the look of the tiger shrimp. I created a really nice aquarium which I wanted the shrimp to be part of and hopefully breed them and then sell them on. But it just wasn't the case when I ordered the shrimp, and it so happened to be the time of year was really cold, and unfortunately for me, these specific shrimp got stuck in the postal service, and this was right at the height of COVID as well, so there was issues with packages being delivered anyway. And yeah, and when they arrived, they were all but one was dead, unfortunately, and it was just another heartbreaking thing for me. It was really hard to take because also online ordering is quite convenient, especially with certain types of shrimp or fish that you might want in this hobby. Sometimes you can't always get them in your store, or you have to order them in. Sometimes you get impatient like I do and decided to order them online, but such was the case for this one. It didn't work out for me. I did try again and the same thing happened, so yeah, it was just a nightmare thing. It put me off ordering shrimp on the internet like forever, but I really hope to do it one day again. Number 3 was my Canary Benny, another saltwater fish here. It was my birthday a couple of years back, and I got some money, decided to go to my local fish store to get a fish that I really wanted, which was a Canary Benny. Absolutely stunning looking fish, especially the really nice yellow that came out on the animal. I got it and everything was all okay. I've told the story in a previous video, which I'll link up in the description. Essentially what happened was, during a water change, I unplugged the heater, and at the time this fish tank was in my conservatory, and at the time it wasn't well insulated, and unfortunately the temperature dropped in the conservatory quite significantly, and it ended up causing loads of issues for my animals. Most of the marine fish were quite hardy. I only had a clownfish in there and a Bangai Cardinal at the time, but they're a lot more hardier in these situations than this Benny was, and unfortunately I spent a lot of the time swimming up the surface, and then a few days later it passed away, which was just absolute soul destroying. Again, it was a really expensive fish, so yeah, just another pain there. Number 2 was my golden gourami. I basically went into a shop wanting a honey gourami to fit a nano aquarium that I was building at the time. I thought it would be a great idea to have one of those. The shop didn't have any honey gouramis, and I impulsively decided to buy a golden gourami. And as anyone knows that does their research, the fish size is significantly different to start with, and also the aggression levels on this animal as well. So it ended up causing me loads of problems in a community tank which I had it in. It was getting very territorial. It was chasing after all of my live bearers that I had, bullying a lot of the fish that were in there. Neon tetras, it wasn't too happy with those, and it just caused me a lot of aggro and just frustration. And again, it just goes back to that argument of just don't ever impulse buy animals. You're always best to do your research beforehand and just take it slow. Thankfully, that's something that I definitely learned my lesson on, because every time I go into a shop now, I always stop and think, do I actually want this right now, and have I done my research on it first? If you're enjoying this kind of content, make sure you give this video a thumbs up and let me know what you think in the comments below. What's your worst fish? And number 1 was my Veiltail betta. I had so many problems with this fish. Initially it was fin rot, aggression, then it was peaceful for a little while, then it got really ill and I had to deal with swim bladder, internal parasites, the whole shebang, and it just caused me so much stress. And it was more the stress of just trying to find the right medications and find out exactly what was wrong with the conditions that the animal was in. I thought I had it all nailed down in terms of parameters, but apparently not. And it just sort of snowballed from there, and once the fish was stressed, it just was no go back from there. And I think I made it worse, to be honest, by actually medicating, because I think that was putting more pressure on the immune system and the functions of the actual fish itself. And unfortunately, yeah, it passed away, and it was just one of those things where, like, I vowed never to get a better fish again. They're so abused anyway. I ended up recently did cave and get another one, and I'm having so much more success with it, so I'm really pleased with that, and it hasn't put me off keeping better fishes going forward. I think it's important, as with anything in life, that you don't get put off by the mistakes that you make and you work through them. Yeah, it's a pain, and yeah, it's heartbreaking, and yes, it costs a lot of money when it first happens, but a few weeks later, hopefully that pain and anguish is gone and that you can continue, because this is such an amazing hobby and there's lots of benefits to it, and it's just really great keeping fish in fish tanks. I love it. That's why I've got so many. It just brings so much, you know, joy and happiness to a lot of people, and it just gives them a place to sort of forget all the worries of the world and enjoy themselves. So yeah, don't be put off, keep plugging through, and always keep it real. And until next time, you stay safe.